Hello, friend. David Roy Newby here, author of the books Why Didn't Anyone Teach Me This? Treasure Islands, and coming out April 18th. Mark it in your calendar. That's the day it's going to be available on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, and quality bookstores in the UK. Beyond Billions, coming out in April. Wanted to share a couple insights I had with you this week. I followed up with a gentleman and was referred to someone who excuse me, I am being referred to someone worth over 10 billion, which it's a pretty small club. There's under, I think, 200 people. Actually, sorry, I think it's under 100 of the top billionaires that are worth over 10 billion. So I don't say that to brag. I say that humbly. But I wanted to share with you a couple of challenges I had this week to put successes and failures and setbacks and frustrations in perspective. Um, uh, I'm coming out with something this year that I've been working on for 7 years. And last week, I met a couple gentlemen in Salt Lake City who are launching a business endeavor that's taken them 7 years to put together. And they've had a lot of setbacks and ups and downs and thought they were ready a couple years ago, and then something else came up. And so I want to encourage you, number one, uh, diligence and wisdom and sticking to something, increasing your skill and ability. Uh, there's no way around that. You can't control what other people do. You can't control a lot of circumstances around you. You can control your attitude, how you respond, and your actions. That's what you can control. And of course, your attitude is very, very paramount because it governs your actions and how you respond to the world around you. I want to leave with you a couple teachings of Solomon and how I applied it this week. So there's a proverb that says, "A man who lacks self-control is like a city whose walls are broken down." Now, when he wrote that, the only way to defend yourself back then, 4,000 years ago, was to have a wall around your city. That's how you kept an invading army out. And this week, I had two things happen that really frustrated me. And with one of the things, I really wanted to respond in a negative way. And in my frustration, I felt like basically cussing this guy out. And so, learning to have that self control when you get offended when someone else's lack of diligence costs you money, whether it's thousands of dollars or tens of thousands or tens of millions or billions of dollars, whatever level of cost that mistake had, um, when that happens, it's frustrating. It can make you really, really mad. Um, and so, anger basically comes from frustration or disappointment. It's a secondary emotion from those other two things. So I realized I was frustrated with someone in this moment, and instead of reacting to them in the emotion, in the frontal lobe, fight or flight, adrenaline going in my body, I was able to realize what was going on, identify why I was frustrated, take some deep breaths, pray, wait a day, talk to business partners and advisors about what is the most productive way to respond to this individual who is frustrating me. And we put together a game plan, and we're going to move forward with a productive way of dealing with that frustration. I encourage you, really look at what are the things that make you angry and develop self-control. Realize that's a secondary emotion. It's either frustration or disappointment. So ask yourself, am I frustrated or am I disappointed? And figure that out and get advice on the wise way to deal with that. Um, another thing I want to share with you, a second training of Solomon's is humility comes before honor, but pride comes before a fall. And I talk about that teaching and how to apply it in my new book, Beyond Billions. Um, it's very easy when you start to produce greater levels of success than you have in the past to start thinking, oh, I have it figured out. As soon as you start thinking that, it's only a matter of time before you're going to fall. There's a gentleman from Brazil who was worth about 15 billion 4 years ago. Today he's worth under 100 million. Um, pride got the best of him. Taking unnecessary risk got the best of him. I know people who were helping families worth 5 billion, and they gave them counsel, and they rejected one piece of counsel, and for one particular family, it cost them over $2 billion in less than a year. Um, I know people who have lost $100 million overnight, $15 million overnight. So whether you can't relate to billions or whether you can relate to millions, or like me personally, maybe I lost $500,000 in 6 months, not strategically addressing some risks in my real estate portfolio in 2008. So I want to encourage you, always be looking for risk factors and how can I wisely deal with those risk factors. And that requires humility to say, I don't know everything. I need to consistently get input from other people. If you do that, if you get wise counsel and you stay humble, you will keep making great decisions and you'll be able to address risk factors powerfully. So I just want to leave you with those two things. And also when you have humility and you really look to serve others powerfully, amazing doors will open for you. Um, I'm being offered to be introduced to billionaires sometimes without even asking for it. And in the past, I did a lot of strategic, really creative marketing things to get the attention of certain billionaires that I wanted to interact with and thought I might be able to add value to. So I want to encourage you, whatever you're called to, maybe you're called to, be like Mother Teresa and serve poor people. Maybe you're called to rescue people from human trafficking. Maybe you're called to work with microfinance groups and empower entrepreneurs. Maybe you're called to empower young people with knowledge and teach them coding and teach them how to rise themselves out of poverty with knowledge. Whatever you're called to do, um, just share your passion and serve others powerfully with humility, and people will be attracted to you and your vision and want to be a part of that. So I hope that you've been encouraged by this message. I want to encourage you, expand your vision. Ask God to expand your vision of what's possible for you. 10 years ago, I couldn't see beyond making $1 million a year. Now I have a very clear plan to make $100 million a year profit by God's grace in the next 3 to 5 years and be investing $80 million a year into projects that I'm very passionate about. And by the way, I'm very passionate about microfinance, empowering the poor to start their own business, rescuing people and giving them emotional healing from human trafficking, and sharing the love of God with people who have never experienced it. So what Jesus called the least of these. And so I want to encourage you, ask God to expand your vision, as the Walt Disney people call it. Be a visioneer. Think and dream and create vivid visions of doing great things, because we are all created to do great things. And the only question is, are we going to be humble? Are we going to expand our vision? And are we going to get good counsel on how to execute on turning these visions into reality? So I'll give you an update when the book's about to come out. And I would love to hear your feedback on this video. And once you read the book, love to hear your feedback on what you were empowered with, what concepts, what takeaways you're going to apply to empower your family to create multi-generational success. God bless you, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.